Hey paper crafters, thank you so much for joining me today. I love that you took the time to pop by my channel, check out the video that I've got going, and hopefully stay and poke around a little bit. I'm really excited to be able to offer some videos now and then and share my love of paper crafting. So I hope you find something that you enjoy and come back to see me another time. Bye-bye. Hey paper crafting friends, thanks for tuning in today. Today I've got a layout video for you featuring this Die Cuts with a View Indigo Kraft and Rose Gold paper stack. This is really a beautiful stack. There's a lot of really lovely foiled papers in here, so I am excited to get in here and play with this. I've already torn this stack apart, and this is the palette that I want to work with today. So I've got kind of a peach color with just some little dots on it. This dark blue textured paper, a little bit darker peach with some kind of leaf designs on it, and then this dark blue or indigo piece that has the rose gold foiling on it. The reverse of one of these, let's see, this one has some sentiments on it. So I'll be able to pick something out of here to kind of add to my layout. And the first decision that I really had to make today was what I wanted to use for my background paper. So these are really, they're different colors, but they complement each other. I love the way that they go together, but I don't really want to bring in another strong color. So I'm going to go ahead and do this layout on French vanilla. So it's a little bit warmer than just a bright white, but I think that this is going to work really well as a tie-in for these colors. So I'm going to go ahead and get my layout kind of figured out and see what templates I'm going to use for this two-page layout, and I'll pop back on and show you. All right, so I've got my basic layout figured out, and then my next step is going to be figuring out which papers I want to use where. So let me just kind of walk you through what I've used so far. The kind of scallopy circle back here, this is from Lacy Trims. So this is Lacy Trims 2. And I have it tucked behind this placemat. So this is one of those a la carte placemats. This is placemat 1. I actually used this combination recently on a calendar page, and I really had a lot of fun with it. So I pulled that back in. Just over here is a little accent. I've got the Thank You 6, this cute little butterfly. And just as a kind of layered embellishment here, I'm using Blossom 1 and Blossom 5. Okay. As far as the borders running across the bottom, I've got Paisley Place 3A and 3B. This happens to be one of the borders that when you do them end to end, they line up perfectly to have a continuous line. So I just really like that when I'm going to do them side by side like that. And then down at the bottom, I've got Scallops 2A and 2B. I probably will separate the two of these with just a little strip, a little 1/2-inch strip, something like that. Up here at the top, just to kind of anchor some embellishments, I've got another little 1/2-inch strip. I've got Thank You 1 and Thank You 3 layered. And behind them, I have the a la carte houseplant. I have an idea for this, and I'll kind of walk you through it when I get there, but just a way to turn this into kind of a fun little pop of color up there in the corner. I want to use one of those sentiment tags. So down here, I've got tags 7. So that's going to give me just a template to use with one of those sentiment cards that was included in this paper stack. Okay. So when I look at the palette that I've got, I definitely have some decisions to make. There's very high amount of contrast between these colors, between these peachy ones and then these really deep indigos. So I want to make sure that I balance those colors around this layout as I'm planning. For whatever reason, this one is really calling out to me to be this Lacy Trims piece, okay? With all the layering that I've got here, I think I'm only going to need about half of this, so I will play with that a little bit and make sure that I've got that right. But I think this is going to be really lovely for that. I probably want to make sure that I add a pop over on this side as well because it is such a bright dominant print. So I think I'll do the lacy trims 2 with this and then this little 1/2 inch strip so that I've got a little bit of that rose gold on both pages. Okay, so now coming back to this, right, we've got to figure out where else we're going to balance some of that deep blue. So since we've got some here and some here, I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and use this for the scallops. Okay, so that'll give me an opportunity to put them down here at the bottom. Okay, now when you're tracing these scallops, one thing I want you to think about is how you can kind of make the most of your paper. So these are not ones that you can kind of butt up against each other to be super efficient, but I would trace the scallop and then using your straight trimmer, I would cut enough that you could use this fun pointed piece in another way, on another layout, on another project. The back side of this is some arrows, so either the front or the back would be fun on another layout. So then you've used up maybe a 2-inch strip. Then you're going to do that again. Okay, do your trace and cut, and then do that again. Cut another straight strip. So you're ending up with a couple of usable scraps. I hope that makes sense. All right, so we've got indigo rose gold here, indigo with rose gold here, that beautiful deep indigo here and here, and then we've got these 2 lighter colors to play with. Okay, so I want to go ahead and use this one here for this placemat. Okay, so I think that's going to look really nice up against that other piece, and that's going to give me a chance to get this really, just lovely light color in here. This darker one I think is going to be perfect to do the paisley place. This is a really non-directional piece of paper. It's not going to matter which way those borders go. So I can go ahead and cut those in the traditional way, just lining one up against the bottom of my page, tracing it, and then putting the other right on top to do the measuring. I like to just make a little tick mark here in the corner, and that way I know where to run my straight cut. Okay, so any way that you can make your paper use and your time the most efficient, that's what I go for. All right, so I think those major decisions are made, so let me go ahead and get busy on getting those pieces cut, and then I'll pop back on and show you how this is all coming together. All right, so these papers were so much fun to play with. So let me show you how this kind of came together, and I'll show you what I added in or just kind of modified along my path. Okay, so I cut everything as I had talked about, and then I really decided that I didn't have enough choices to create any contrast with my embellishments. And I always want my embellishments to add a little bit of interest and just to be something, that pop, that really fun, playful piece of the page. So I ended up pulling in just a 1/2 sheet of this Desert Rose cardstock from Close to My Heart. So it is a little lighter on one side and a little darker on the other. So with just this 1/2 sheet, I was able to cut, these are just 3/8 inches. So I did a little 3/8 inch strip here and here using the lighter side. Okay. I also used the lighter side to trace and cut that placemat 1. So let me grab that. I've got it right under here. Okay. I literally just held this, put this right up against the edge as close as I could get it, did the tracing, and I cut it really narrow. It's a very small little piece that I have tucked underneath just to have that little accent piece. Then I needed this one, and I did the same thing. I did use the reverse side that's a little bit darker, okay? And I traced that again. I did cut this one a little bit thicker so that I'd have a little bit more of that design. So I think between the scallop on the lacy trims, the scallop on the placemat, the scallop here, and then all these really fun curves on the flowers, I just think that carries that really fun curvy feel throughout the whole thing. Okay. The last thing that I took out of this desert rose piece was the blossom here. Now, I wish I had the scraps of the other half that I used. This is actually cut in 2 pieces, okay? I cut half of that blossom because I just didn't have enough space left, right? By the time I did all my strips and I did my scallops, I was down to not as much of this. But because I was putting something right over top of this, I was able to cut the blossom in 2 pieces. So just find a spot where you're comfortable. I traced this side and then flipped it over and traced this side. Okay, and then I was able to just pop the other pieces on top. You have no idea that that embellishment is seamed. So when you find yourself getting low on paper, get a little bit creative about your layering and you can kind of hide anything that you do like that. All right, let me show you what else I did here. Hopefully you can see the paper that I used for this accent on the placemat looks like a dark blue board, okay? So I just traced and cut this. That paper was the back side of this one, okay? So that light peach paper with the white dots, when you flip it over, it looks like weathered wood, okay? And I wanted it to tie in with this tag. So this tag is made out of that same kind of paper. So I went ahead and used this to do the piece there and to do the butterfly. Okay, so that kind of brought those in. You might notice that there is a little splash of glitter in here. So the glitter paper is actually this mocha glitter. This is also close to my heart. I can stick a link in the description box just in case you want to find these products, but this is really beautiful. I only needed like a 4x6. So I literally took a sheet, cut it into 6 pieces, and this is all I'm using. So I did use that houseplant a la carte, and that was from one of the club kits. Okay. And I traced it just like it is, but I obviously with this glitter, you're going to trace on the back. But I did go ahead and just trace this, and then I cut it right down the middle, okay, which gave me the 2 pieces. And then I just took those 2 pieces and ran them out from behind that little flower cluster, and I love how that turned out. It's not going to cover up my photos, it's just going to be a fun little pop in the corner. Okay. This little piece here, I traced right off of the placemat. Okay, so you got that little photo corner. I had forgotten about that, so I was excited to see that fun little photo corner with a little bit of accent on it. I used the glitter for the blossom, and I used the glitter to make this. This is just 2 strips that I did a diagonal cut at the top and made them look like a ribbon. Okay. Throughout this project, there are some little dots. So I just used a hole punch to do one there, one there, one there, and then there's another one here. So just those little tiny pops throughout the layout. So I think that's all of the pieces, you guys. So mostly it came from that paper stack. And then I had so much left, so many scraps, that I did decide to make a second layout for this particular, with this paper stack and with the pages that I had pulled out. So stay tuned. Let me get that one set up and I'll show you what I did. It was a much faster, much easier layout. So if you have this paper stack, you might want to do this next one as well. Give me just a second. All right, for this second layout, I went ahead and used several of the pieces that we had already cut from the last layout, but then I pulled in a couple more pages out of that stack. So remember, this one was the blue kind of textured paper on the back side, and it's got the arrows. You recognize this light peach one with the dots. There was this really fun floral. We hadn't touched this piece yet. It's a kind of a lavender color on the other side, which, like periwinkle maybe, not my favorite, but this floral's kind of fun. And then there was this one with words. It's just like forever and always, you're the one that I love, just really sweet. And it also has that periwinkle on the back. Okay, so that's going to be my color palette. I needed to figure out a background for this. I ended up pulling in this peach cardstock, again, close to my heart. It's a little darker on one side, a little lighter on the other. I'm going to build on the lighter side. And again, this is a much faster layout, so it'll be kind of fun to get this one pulled together for you. Give me just a second and I'll show you the templates I used, and if there's any tips or tricks on the cutting, I'll share that as well. All right, so here's the one that I laid out on this peach cardstock. And again, I said this one's pretty simple, right? It's got some nice big borders. It's got some good photo spaces. So this one is going to come together really, really fast. So as far as the borders, I used Paisley Place 1A and 1B. And then I used Aspen Court 3A and 3B. For the embellishments, I've got Sweetheart 2. And then I'm not going to use the words on here on this thank you template, but I am going to use just this shape because I just kind of liked that floral, kind of a soft floral shape. Okay. And then over here, this tiny notations, this is really just a placeholder. I've chosen a sentiment card from that sentiment sheet, and I want to go ahead and use that, but I wanted something when I was designing to help me remember what I had planned. Okay. This arrow is from Sweetheart, so that's Sweetheart 1. And I just want to be able to kind of point up to these pictures, kind of call attention to this photo spot. Okay. As far as the photos, I've got a 5x7 here. It's really just grounding these two 3x4s. Okay. And then I've got two 4x6s here and a 4x5. Okay. So when I started looking at these papers, I know that, you know, they're busy, but if you separate those patterns a little bit with a colored strip, or they're in different parts of your page, it works out okay. So let's grab these and I'll show you what I have in mind here. All right, so I love the way these two go together. Yes, busy, but I really think they're going to work out fine. My plan is to use this darker one to be the bigger border. So this is going to be the Paisley Place 1A and 1B, and that's going to bring that kind of darker color into the layout. Okay. I'm going to use the arrows for the Aspen Court, so those will run up and down. The arrows go both directions, so it's absolutely fine to do the traditional method of cutting this paper with your borders, but I would just make sure that, for me, I want them running up and down, so I'm going to put my border along the edge and then put the other one right up against it. Okay, it's not going to matter that one piece is going this way and one piece is going this way. It makes no difference. Okay. The words will work out fine as well because we're going to cut them vertically. Okay, that way the words are going the right direction when you put those borders. As far as the strip to separate them, I want to go ahead and use this dotted paper, and I'll show you why. And I do this a lot, you guys. I just kind of stack my papers like this and see how it's going to work out. But that is going to be enough of a contrast, especially inked, that's going to separate those two patterns really well. So I'll just put a little 1/2-inch strip going right down the middle of those borders to create that separation. The spot where this is going to come in is just as this background piece for these photos. So I'm going to do the 5x7 photo mat with this paper. It's going to pull in that fun print. You're not going to see a lot of it, and it's not going to make it too busy. Okay. As far as this sweetheart. I'm thinking that this is going to be used on a sentiment card. I saw one that says you are loved, and I thought that would be really sweet on the heart. So I think that's the plan with that one. And then I already told you I have one in mind for this. Okay, so I've only got a couple more things to figure out paper-wise, so give me a second to do that, and then I'll show you how it all came together. All right, there you go. So this is the finished kind of product here, and I did bring in a piece of just white cardstock to do these photo mats and to do this kind of background for this. So remember, this was that thank you piece from the thank you kit. Okay, and then this one I'll show you on the sentiment sheet. It's just this sentiment card here that I went ahead and just did a little, I don't know, probably 1/8 inch bigger as I cut around it. So a little bit of fussy cutting there, but I love how that turned out. And I was able to do the arrow from Sweetheart with that soft peach paper with the spots on it, and I like that as well. So just kind of a subtle add on the page. As far as the one that says you are loved, let me grab that template real quick. I used that Sweetheart template, and it was almost a perfect fit. Okay, I did have to adjust the tip down here a tiny bit, but it wasn't bad. Okay, so keep in mind, you have tons of templates at your disposal if you're starting to collect. So think about what you can use when you're cutting up these like sentiment cards to make fun little embellishments for your page without spending extra money, right? You're able to create so much using your templates and just some paper. So hopefully this gives you an idea. If you have this stack, get busy, get it out, tear it apart, and have some fun creating. So as always, I appreciate the time that you spent with me on my channel today, and I hope to see you here again another time. Leave me a comment if you can. Let me know what you liked. Let me know if there's something else that you'd like to see. And I always try to make some time to get in and say hi and comment back to you if you leave me a comment. So I will see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.